And hail, all hail to old Purdue, the pride of all the West. The Sigma Chi fraternity at Purdue is one of the most historic chapters on any college campus. It was the original fraternity at Purdue, established in the very first year of the university's classes. When Purdue had its first graduation ceremony in 1875, it was for one person, John B. Harper, who was a charter member of Sigma Chi at Purdue. In the fall of the third year of classes, 1876, the Purdue president banned fraternities. Any student who was found to be a member of a fraternity was expelled from the university. For the next 10 years, the chapter operated in secret, what they called sub rosa. A court case was filed and resolved in favor of Sigma Chi, which had a nationwide effect on behalf of all Greek organizations. This picture was taken in 1886 at the end of the sub rosa era. Notice that the Sigma Chi pin is being worn publicly by the members for the first time in a decade. George Ade, who went on to do great things, was in his junior year when the picture was taken. George Ade was the first playwright to have 3 Broadway shows running simultaneously. One of his shows was The County Chairman, starring Will Rogers, and Ade was a journalist of international renown. He served the fraternity as its grand consul, he served Purdue as a trustee, and he has his name on Purdue's football stadium. George Ade authored the Sigma Chi Creed, the first part of which reads, "I believe in fairness, decency, and good manners. I will endeavor to retain the spirit of youth. I will try to make my college, the Sigma Chi fraternity, and my own chapter more honored by all men and women, and more beloved and honestly respected by our own brothers." Other notable graduates from the 1880s and 1890s include John T. McCutcheon, who won the Pulitzer Prize for his political cartoons in the Chicago Tribune; Booth Tarkington, a successful and prolific author; Dr. Frederick Shue, who became president of the University of Montana and grand consul of the fraternity; and Charles Eldridge, who was executive secretary of the fraternity for many years and who wrote the song, "My Name is Sigma Chi, Sir." We have had an amazing group of athletes as members of our chapter. To name a few, Keith Carter, who swam for the U.S. team in the 1948 London Olympics; Hank Stram, who played in the backfield for Purdue and was the winning coach in the 4th Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs; Bob Griese, who was the quarterback with the Miami Dolphins in 2 Super Bowl wins; Mark Herman, who was an NFL quarterback with Denver, Baltimore, and Indianapolis; Jim Everett, quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams; Drew Brees, who was the quarterback with the New Orleans Saints in their Super Bowl victory; Al Menke, who is in the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame; Paul Hoffman, who played for the Baltimore Bullets; Dave Shellhouse, a first-team All-American who played for the Chicago Bulls; Bob Frand, starting pitcher and World Series star for the Pittsburgh Pirates; Joe McCabe, leading hitter in the Big Ten who went on to play for the Washington Senators and the Minnesota Twins; Doug Schreiber, who coached the Purdue baseball team to the 2012 Big Ten Championship. In other fields, Kirk Fordyce, class of 1956, became governor of Mississippi. And at Purdue Sigma Chi, Greg Harbaugh became an astronaut who went on 4 missions into space and walked in space on 3 of those missions. Greg is now president of the Sigma Chi Foundation. Purdue Sigs have distinguished themselves in the business world as well. Here are the names and pictures of just a few Purdue Sigs who have served as chief executive officers of companies. There are many others who have been CEOs, in senior corporate positions, and who have owned their own businesses. In addition, there are many who have succeeded in the fields of law, medicine, and agriculture. The Purdue Sigma Chi Chapter House was constructed in 1912 and dedicated in 1913. George Ade contributed most of the funds and hired the architect William Mann, who was a Purdue Sig. In the early part of the last decade, after more than 90 years, the chapter house was showing its age and needed a comprehensive renovation. $7.4 million was raised to finance the work. The goal was to rebuild the house so that it looked original, but had the latest in building materials and technology, including wired and wireless internet capability. The outside walls of the structure were sound, but inside the building there was serious deterioration. The house needed to be completely rebuilt inside. The fireplace was so seriously damaged that it had to be totally replaced. It was rebuilt so that the stones matched the original design. The stones are not symmetrical, to emphasize that the young men in the fraternity have different talents, temperaments, and convictions. The major rooms are exact replicas of the original house. This is a sketch of George Ade by John McCutcheon that was drawn when they were undergraduates in the 1880s. There are 5 rooms dedicated for study: the library, a breakout room, a presentation room, the Eldritch room, and the computer lab. The house has the capacity for 70 young men to live in. A social room was built on the lower level. A new coat of stucco was applied to the outside walls, and they were repainted, and a new roof was put on the house. The campaign chairmen were Bruce Harold and Keith Kroc. Bruce was vice president of strategy for IBM at the time of the renovation and is currently on the faculty of the Harvard Business School. Keith founded 2 Silicon Valley firms. He was Grand Consul of the Sigma Chi Fraternity from 2005 to 2007, and he served Purdue University as chairman of its board of trustees. Harold Force, CEO of a major Midwestern construction company, took charge of the architecture and construction work. Jim Dora and I held out our tin cups and raised the money. Over 800 of our 1,400 living alumni contributed the funds for the renovation. Thanks to the undergraduates, along with the leadership of Bart Burrell, who set Big Ten records catching passes from Mark Herman and who is now president of the House Corporation, Butch Brose, our maintenance guru, and Scott Brenton, our financial wizard, who is shown here with his son Reed, the chapter house remains in the same excellent condition as when the renovation construction was completed a few years ago. One of George Ade's objectives was that the fraternity experience would be affordable. To that end, Sigma Chi at Purdue has several scholarships available. This chart lists the 8 existing scholarship categories. More information can be found on the website, thesighouse.com. Blake Nita was the recipient of the Delta Delta Brotherhood Scholarship. This scholarship paid for his entire room and board expenses.
With the Brotherhood Living Scholarship, that saved me a great deal of money, both sophomore and junior year, and was literally the only reason that I was able to come back to Purdue for the sophomore and junior year.
For many years, the focus of the chapter has been on scholarship, leadership, and brotherhood. The goal for scholarship is to be in the top 5 fraternities on campus in terms of grade point average. Currently, the leadership tradition continues with SIGs in top leadership roles in the Interfraternity Council, Old Masters, and student government. And there are many activities throughout the year that enhance brotherhood. Every December since World War II ended, the chapter house is decorated with fir trees for the Blue Formal. Recently, several members of the chapter formed a band called the Sub Roses, and they performed all over campus. I'm alive, The SIGs are historically active in inter-fraternity sports. The 2011, 12, and 13 teams have won the inter-fraternity championship in basketball. The first Purdue Grand Prix was in 1959. The chapter has had 1 or 2 cars in the race ever since. The SIGs had 2 cars entered in the 2009 race, and Travis Isles won the race in car number 99. The Singing Track Fraternity at Purdue has built character and lifelong friendships for 138 years and counting. Thank you for watching, and hail Purdue.
My name is Dick McKaiser and I live across the green. Our gang, it is the jolliest that you have ever seen. Oh, we drink a stein of lager and we smoke a big cigar. I yell, you hear it ringing through the country near and far. Oh, who I'm a Sigma Chi. Sigma Chi, will be till I die. Hey, we're up to snuff, we never bluff. We're game at any fuss. No other gang in college dares to meet us in a muss. So fill your lungs and sing it out and shout it through the sky.